You just watched the 12 News debate for Rhode Island's 2nd Congressional District seat. I'm digital reporter Adriana Rozas Rivera, live here inside of PPAC in the heart of downtown Providence, where the debate just ended between Republican and former Cranston Mayor Allan Fung and the current General Treasurer Seth Magaziner, both facing off, hoping to replace retiring Congressman Jim Langevin, who announced his retirement earlier this year. Now, this is a hotly contested race being watched on the national stage. Republicans, big Republicans, national figures like former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, Kevin McCarthy, all campaigning for Allan Fung as they hope to flip this seat for the first time in decades in their attempts to flip the House in November. Now, Democrats a little nervous about this as polling shows Fung ahead. You know, in a 12 News poll we released earlier this month, Fung was polling at 46% ahead of Magaziner, who polled at 40%. 9% of voters said they were undecided, while 4% were supporting independent Bill Gilbert. Another poll released a few weeks after also showing Fung ahead. And we have the campaigns here on standby to give us reaction to the debate. First up from the Fung campaign, come on over. We have campaign manager, scoot over on this side. Hi, Eric Harpoodian. Did I say that right?
Harpoodian, you got it.
Nice. Hi. Thank you so much for being here. How you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. You know, you saw a great performance by Allan Fung. I think it was very clear he was the clear winner of tonight's debate, and that's for a couple of reasons. You know, number one, because he's laser focused on the economy. We talk to thousands and thousands of voters every single day, Allan being the head of it at events, out at the doors, and they tell us one thing: they're struggling right now. They're struggling to fill up their gas. They're struggling to go out and buy groceries. And we need to turn that around, and Allan, he has the proven track record of getting that done. As the mayor of Cranston, 12 years, he took that city from the brink of financial insolvency into one of the top 50 cities to live in America. He did a great job as mayor. He's going to do a great job as our next congressman.
So how do you think that Fung separated himself from Magaziner? Because they do agree on some things, not everything. So where do you think their biggest differences are?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest difference is in Fung's proven track record to get things done. And, you know, I have a little list of Seth's $1 million lies. He's spent a ton of money on TV calling out Allan Fung on his positions that are incorrect. You know, his stance on abortion, his stance on Social Security. Allan is laser focused on the economy because that's what the people of Rhode Island care about, and that's what he's going down to D.C. to fix.
Now, Mayor Fung didn't give a clear answer on whether he would vote down a federal ban on assault-style rifles. Can you just clarify for us what his position is? Would he vote a ban down if it came down to his desk when he's in D.C.?
Yeah, I think Allan's answer was very clear tonight on where he stands about that issue. And once again, going back to his proven track record of leadership as mayor of Cranston, you know, he kept that city safe for 12 years, and that's exactly the same type of mind frame that he's going to take down when looking at those tough legislation bills. You know, he has to look at the legislation in order to act on it.
So he did say, though, during the debate he would want to take guns out of criminals, but wouldn't want to take them away from folks who are law-abiding citizens. So then he would vote down a full ban, a federal ban on assault-style rifles?
He supports exactly like what you just said, law-abiding citizens' rights to have their guns.
All right, so is there anything that didn't come up during the debate that you think viewers should know about your candidate ahead of the election?
Well, Allan is quite the foodie. We love to travel around Rhode Island, trying Rhode Island's best eats. You can check out our Instagram and our Twitter and stuff like that. We're always looking for the best spots. If you have any recommendations, let us know. We'll probably check it out.
All right, thanks so much for being here, Eric. We appreciate it. And now I want to remind folks that early voting starts October 19th. That is tomorrow. So the election does not start Election Day. It starts tomorrow, and folks have until November 8th, of course, to cast their ballot. Now, from the Magaziner campaign, we have Patricia Socaris representing. Hi, how are you doing?
Doing great tonight. We saw a very strong performance from Seth Magaziner, who is ready to go down to Washington and fight for Rhode Island values. And I think in the next 21 days, we're going to leave not only this debate stage and people's televisions with Seth Magaziner as the next congressman, but we are ready to fight for Rhode Island values down in Washington.
So how do you think that Magaziner separated himself from Fung?
In every issue that matters. Allan Fung tonight recommitted his first vote in Congress to Kevin McCarthy, and Seth Magaziner instead said that he would protect Social Security and Medicare, which is a lifeline to Rhode Islanders who depend on that check. Allan Fung said that he would empower Kevin McCarthy, who wants to pass a national abortion ban. Seth Magaziner has been with Rhode Island women since the very beginning and helped to pass the Reproductive Privacy Act. Allan Fung's campaign is funded by multi-billion-dollar oil companies that have been price gouging Rhode Islanders at the gas pump every step of the way. Seth Magaziner is willing to pass legislation to crack down on that price gouging. The difference couldn't be starker.
So you just heard the Fung team reiterate, that Magaziner comes from a wealthy background, is getting tons of money poured into his campaign from his family and whatnot. What's your response to folks who maybe are concerned about Magaziner's quote-unquote wealthy background as the Fung campaign paints it?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the Fung campaign and Alan Fung himself wants to take away from the issues that Rhode Islanders really care about. It's the same petty politics that people are tired of seeing in Washington. And it's also something that he's done himself. So I'm glad Seth Magaziner brought it back to the issues that we care about, like inflation, protecting a woman's right to choose, and turning the page on Donald Trump.
Is there anything that didn't come up in the debate that you want to share with voters ahead of them making their way to the poll? Anything they should know about Magaziner?
I think it's been apparent for the last 8 years that Seth Magaziner has fought for Rhode Island values. He's made it possible to have one of the largest investments in the history of our state to repair our school buildings. That was over 30,000 good-paying jobs. You'll see some of the people who benefited from those jobs rallying for us at the very beginning when the Fun campaign had absolutely no support at the door. And Seth is ready to go down to Washington to fight for Rhode Island values. There's a lot at stake this election. People cannot stay home, so please, if you heard our message tonight and you felt like you were moved, visit us at SethMagaziner.com, sign up to volunteer. We are talking to every voter, knocking doors, making phone calls, and we need your support.
What's ahead of Election Day? What's next after this debate?
Exactly that. We are knocking doors, making as many phone calls as we can, and we are across the district ready to win.
All right. Thank you so much for being here, Patricia. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. And so as we wait for our Ted Nesi, who I just saw, and he went missing. This is what happens when you're live inside PPAC. He is crawling under the veranda. Yes, it is digital. Yes. Well, we'll take it up with our news director. How you doing, Ted?
Good. How are you, Adriana?
I'm doing good. All right. So fresh off the debate stage here at PPAC, the commotion is still behind us.
Right.
Everybody.
Everyone's out there.
Yep. Everybody's shuffling out. What's your first reaction?
You know, and I always start, Adriana, you and I have done a bunch of these with the caveat that I like to wait and sort of hear what the voters say, the viewers tell us about the debate. I thought they both had a lot of moments they'd be pretty happy with. I think, Alan Fung was relentlessly going back to the idea that he's not Kevin McCarthy. Yes, he's going to vote for Kevin McCarthy, but then he's going to vote his own way and be independent. And Seth Magaziner making his argument that that first vote matters the most and trying to go back to core Democratic issues that we know historically have won this district. But the question is, does Alan Fung have such kind of deep roots around here and that independent streak in the eyes of enough voters that he can win? So I think it's really fascinating. I certainly didn't see any moment tonight where I thought someone, stumbled so hard that they're out of the race or anything like that. So I'm curious to see the fallout from here.
So do you think that, recent polling has shown that Fung has a lead? Both our 12 News poll and the Boston Globe Suffolk University poll showed Fung with a lead. Do you think that he did what he had to do tonight to hold on to that?
I could see on the faces of his supporters who were, in the hall tonight, they seemed pretty happy. So I think they thought he got his message across. And the question is, did Seth Magaziner start to bring back some of the voters who haven't been with him yet, but maybe were gettable for him? We saw in our poll in particular, and also in the Globe poll, Alan Fung winning a measurable percentage of Democrats. Well, if Seth Magaziner, who is the Democrat, can bring them back, that could cut into Alan Fung's lead and try to bolster him. So, on the one hand, you'd rather be Alan Fung, who's up 6 or 8 points in the polls, but that's not such a massive lead that they can rest easy or that the Magaziner people should think this race is over, particularly in a district like this. But certainly, as Tim said at the end of the debate, early voting starts tomorrow. The hour is growing late. So the Magaziner folks really need to find a way to rev things up, and they're going to hope this debate, captured a lot of voters who either were on the fence or maybe with Fung and brought them over to his side.
So you've been tracking this race closely because it's deep blue Rhode Island. It might flip to a Republican. So can you paint a picture on the national stage? What are the national folks seeing in this opportunity with Alan Fung?
Well, first of all, it's funny because I talked to a lot of national reporters who were texting me in the summer, is this real? Like a Republican could win that seat where, people have to remember, it's Jack Reed won this seat in 1990 and flipped it, and it's never flipped back to the Republicans since. So it's been a long, long time, but I think, Rhode Island is kind of dividing. We see that in the polls. We see in the polls for the governor's race that Dan McKee has a huge lead in the first district, David Cicilline's district. He's only up a couple of points, depending on the poll, in the second district. So this is a much more purple area, especially in a midterm year where the turnout's going to be lower because there's no presidential race on the ballot. And I think the national Republicans feel they know how unusual it is to be this competitive in a federal race in a blue state. And they think Alan Fung, because of all his years, most Republicans in blue states, just like Democrats in red states, they can't get away from just being tarred as their own party, and that's all they are to people. Alan Fung's had all these years to try to make a different image with folks, and now you can see Seth Magaziner trying hard to be like, but there's an R after his name, but there's an R after his name, but he can say, hey, you know me, you knew me from Cranston, and so far that's really been working, I think maybe better than some of the Democrats expected. So, the national Republicans, I have heard from sources in Washington, Kevin McCarthy himself is very, very interested in this race. He believes in Alan Fung. He thinks he's come here to campaign for him. I mean, sometimes Alan Fung doesn't like to talk too much about the support he has from those folks, but it's just a sign that they really think they can win this seat. And then the reason you see the congressional delegation, who are all Democrats, so concerned is they fear if Alan Fung wins this seat, how many terms could he win? And then would he be set up to run for U.S. Senate someday in Rhode Island? And people might think I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's how politics works. Jack Reed won this in 1990. He's still a U.S. Senator today. So, winning one of these races and then having that prominence is a big deal. So, Seth Magaziner has his work cut out for him, but he is still running in a district that voted for Joe Biden by double digits. So there is a path, but he's got to figure it out in just a few weeks.
So what does the next few days look like for these campaigns? What are they now setting out to do after this debate?
Well, there's no more television debates until the very, very end of the race, is my understanding. So for one thing, they won't have another necessarily big moment together like they did tonight, which is part of why Jack Reed actually told me Friday, I was interviewing for my column, and he said he thought this debate was just absolutely crucial for Seth Magaziner. He said he remembered in his own race in 1990, he felt it was his first debate that helped to start to turn the tide and allow him to win that year against Trudy Cox in 1990. I suppose there aren't a lot of viewers double checking. I promise it was Trudy Cox in 1990. And so that's the question. Did he do enough here? And now I think it's just going to be the slog of, field hitting. I think people are going to see even more campaign ads. We saw a new negative ad against Alan Fung on today. Obviously, the Republicans have plenty of negative ads on against Seth Magaziner. And then I also think the climate matters. I mean, we've seen some concerns about gas prices ticking up again. We saw in the summer Democratic fortunes rise a bit unexpectedly, which I think helped to give a sense that, okay, Magaziner will be able to figure this out. If Democratic fortunes are sinking again nationally, that could be good news for Alan Fung, not good news for Seth Magaziner. So, but I will say, I talked to those folks a lot. I talked to both campaigns a lot. The Magaziner people have never been under any illusions about how hard this would be. A treasurer is just not as well known as the mayor of one of the largest cities in the district. So I think they've been preparing for this, and they know they have a tough fight ahead if they want to try to win this thing.
All right, Ted, well, we'll let you go get some rest now post-debate. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Adriana.
All right, everyone, so thanks for watching our 12 News post-debate analysis. Again, the election starts tomorrow, early voting, October 19th. The last day to cast your ballot is November 8th. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Adriana Rozas Rivera, 12 News.